Is there a UFO buried under this house? It's a shocking question, to be sure, but it's one people in this community have been asking for over half a century. Is the proof waiting to be dug up, lost to history, or pure fiction whose tale has grown over decades?
That's a clip from NewsNation's secret Soviet UFO special, which you can see right now on YouTube. It takes us all the way to Estonia, where in a suburban backyard, a Cold War mystery lies, an alleged secret Soviet UFO that has yet to be discovered. This story starts back in the 1960s, where a suburban couple was doing routine work on their home when a worker digging a well struck a hard metallic object. That object is now dubbed Object M. So what happened next? Well, Soviet Union authorities flocked to the site. They investigated it aggressively, taking pieces of it to a lab where it was determined it's not metals from earthly origin. Let's flash forward to today. A NewsNation team, spearheaded by senior international correspondent Ross Coulthart, visited the site working to uncover this mystery and whether other countries from behind the Iron Curtain were recovering UFOs just as we were. To discuss, let's bring him in, investigative journalist and host of Reality Check, Ross Coulthart. Ross, always good to see you. Thanks for making time with us for tonight.
It's a real pleasure, Hannah.
We can only imagine what it was like being in that house in Estonia firsthand. What did you witness? Who did you talk to? Tell me everything.
Well, it's absolutely fascinating. It's a great rejoinder, I think, to those people who always say, why do UFO stories only ever happen in the United States? The reality is the Soviet Union had its fair share of anomalous events, and this is one of the most celebrated ones. And it's been the subject of speculation in Estonia for many years, both before and after the fall of the Iron Curtain. There's a suburb in Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, called Merivälja, and a guy was digging a well under his house about 50, 60 years ago and hit something metallic. We know this because this is recorded in both KGB files of the former Overseas Intelligence Service, the KGB, now the FSB. And we also know from multiple witnesses who were on the ground at the time that there was a massive investigation where the Soviet military came in, the whole house garden was dug up, there was a tunnel dug to the object, whatever it was, and there were reports, multiple reports, of people, including a worker that tried to hit the object with a pickaxe. He was hit in the chest by some kind of propulsive force. We don't know what that force was, but as a result of that incident and weird anomalous things that happened in and around the house that were witnessed and recorded again by multiple witnesses, the entire tunnel system was closed up. And as best as we know, the object has never been recovered.
Can I ask you more about Object M? Because apparently some very scary things have happened around it, paranormal even, pillows being shredded, a family dog even levitating. Did they tell you these stories? What more did you find out about these strange occurrences, Ross?
Well, sadly, the people who owned the house at the time of this excavation have since passed, but the guy that we were dealing with in Estonia, called Mart Sander, who's quite a well-known celebrity in Estonia, he's written a book on the subject called Object M, and what he discovered was that the owner of the house, his wife, was in fact his English teacher at school, and so she very kindly let him into the house, and he had conversations with her where she admitted that they'd had all this weird phenomena going on in the house, and the whole family was very spooked by it. It's a rollicking good ghost story, if nothing else, but whatever it was, there was definitely phenomena recorded by multiple witnesses. And the intriguing thing about this is that there are Soviet-era files that show diagrams of this object under the ground. There were ground-penetrating radar tests done by scientists, And intriguingly, at the very, very beginning of the end of the Cold War in the early 1990s, there was even a Japanese team that went and did their own ground-penetrating radar survey, and they confirmed that there was indeed an anomalous metallic object about 30 feet under the house. And so what's intriguing is we don't know, because in this era there were more recoveries, there were more digs going on in that site. And I do think it's possible that if there was something anomalous, if there was some kind of craft or structure under the house, it does appear that shortly before the end of the Cold War, it was recovered. But the intriguing thing is they've found anomalous isotopic ratios. So the metals that were recovered from this object do appear to suggest that some of these metals were not of this Earth. They were not normal isotopic ratios that you would expect for similar metals that were found on this planet.
Does this mean, I have about 30 seconds left, during that time our counterparts were conducting research on UFOs just like we were here in the United States, Ross?
It does. And what it shows, and it's part of what I think was one of the biggest UFO investigations of all time. The Soviets in the era of the Cold War dedicated an investigation to investigating over 10,000 UFO cases. And what they found proved beyond any shadow of a doubt that Russia, the USSR, was very, very interested in UFOs. They took it very, very seriously. And this is not just a United States problem.
So fascinating. We love when you come on. Ross Coulthart, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And you can watch this episode and more on Reality Check with Ross Coulthart on NewsNation's YouTube page. Make sure to check it out. It's very cool.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.